So, my very first time on a chartered flight, God told me I was going to be on it. Hi, my name is Keo Nuyeka, and this is Loud with Keo Nuyeka. This is where I talk experiences, share stories about life, about love, even politics, and of course, about my faith. So it's everything here, really. So please like, subscribe if you haven't. So let's get to the gist, right? It's not like I've not been flying before, I have, but I have not been on a chartered flight or a private flight, kind of. So my first time, God told me I was going to be on it. Now, this is how it happened. So I am a poet, and my job often requires me traveling to different places for different occasions to perform. But this time, I had to get a 9 to 5. Of course, I've been working 9 to 5 for close to 10 years and combining that with poetry. But I recently moved to Abuja, and one of the things I wanted to do was see how I could maybe explore consultancy, maybe in the NGO space, and then just do poetry full time. But that didn't work out at the time. So I had to get a 9 to 5. So I was just like, I think 2 months in to this 9 to 5 when this opportunity came for me to travel from Abuja to where to perform. And this was a performance I really wanted because this honorable man had, launched 6 hospitals in honor of his wife and new skill acquisition centers. And I was there in the first to perform. I think I was there for up to 4 times. And this was the last hospital that was supposed to be commissioned in Owerri. And I really, really, really wanted to be there. And and I and at the time I also needed the money, you know, plus the fact that the body weight I was going to get for that performance would really go a long way. Then I was new at the job, so how do I tell my boss that, oh, I would have to go for this performance? The very first time I was contacted, I just said, oh, I would love to be go, but I just said like no, like that's no words in my mind. I was like, no, I just said this, but I can't make it. But I was like, okay, but before I tell them, let me just wait, wait a little bit and navigate the working space and to see if it's something I can pull off before I finally contact them to say that I would not be available. So one day I just thought to myself, well, you need this money and you really want to be part of this performance. Why do you just want to cancel it out? Why don't you pray about it? And honestly, I didn't even know what I was asking for in the prayer. I think in the prayer, maybe I was thinking I was asking for favor because I wanted to, have favor in the sight of my boss. I think maybe that was one of the things I kind of thought of. Okay, maybe you just seek favor and maybe you ask for permission and it would just be a piece of cake. But the interesting thing was that I would have to go maybe for like 3 days, and that may be a lot for them. If it was just a 1 day thing, it's just obtain permission. It was going to be like a 3 day, and I was like, God, what do I do? Okay, so I started praying about it, and I was just praying for favor, right, to be able to take that number of days off. And I remember that immediately I started praying about it, I heard God say, praise through it, like praise it through, like like a drive through, but what would get me to the other end of the prayer would be praise. And so I started praising. I went online, got like, dance praise songs, and I would dance and I would just praise. And I remember, I think it was the second day that I was praising after praising, and I started praying in tongues, just giving God thanks. And I heard private. I was like, what was private? And my mind just just caught on to say that, like it was like a reserved something private. It was just saying that I was going to go, but it was not going to be like the regular commercial flights. That was what I understood by that word private. And I was excited, I was screaming, I was really happy. And and that was the perfect thing for me because it meant I could just maybe take just 2 days off. I could go on that day, or even just one day off, go on that day, come back that same day. I think that was the most beautiful thing about that flight was that I would, leave Abuja very early in the morning, get to where perform, get back into the flight, and then come back that same day and be able to go to work the next morning. And that was perfect. I was screaming. I was happy. So I reached out to the contractors, the event planners, and I was like, okay, how far? Talking about logistics, and so somehow the event planner mentioned that there was a private plane. And when I heard the word private, I'm like, oh, that's it, that's it, that's it. And I said, okay, there's a private plane. Can I get on the private plane instead of maybe adding my logistics and flight money and all of that? And she said, oh, sorry, we're not directly in charge of the private plane. In fact, we even had to get a protocol officer from our end to, get a slot for him to be able to get on board. The flight is totally booked, and there is no space. And then I just said, okay. And then I replied with, I still have that chat. I'm trusting God for a miracle. I will get on that plane. And she replied with an emoji or with a sticker. And so we continued. And as the days started getting closer, it didn't seem like I was going to get on that plane or that flight. So I contacted another person who was closer in charge of the flight, and I reached out to him, who he's a very good friend of mine. Shout out to him, and he said this flight is booked, and it was the Oga at the top that was in charge of the persons who are even getting in, and there's a list of names and all of that. We cannot get you in, and I know him. If there was a way, he would have been able to get me in. So at this point I was like, okay, so that we don't lose at both ends, I decided to book a commercial flight. I booked a commercial flight for the event. I was like, maybe I didn't hear properly, or maybe I missed it, or whatever. And then I continued, preparing for the event. I rehearsed my lines, I wrote my lines. I trusted God to help me with ideas. That's a different story for another day, how I got an amazing idea for that particular performance. But I got everything together. And then eventually I reached out to my boss and I said I'll have to go for this event. I would need 2 days. I was so scared of saying 3 days because I didn't know how he was going to take it. My thinking was that, oh, that's tricky. That's not good. But my thinking was that when I leave, then on the second day, I would reach out to him and say, oh, sorry, I have to come back the next day, right, to make it 3 days, because I didn't know how to tell him that I needed like up to 3 days for something personal, right? It was my personal business I was now going to affect. Also, it didn't seem fair. I didn't know how to communicate that, so I wanted to be tricky. Well, God showed me mercy. But apparently, so I was granted 2 days. So 3 days to the event, right? The event was, oh, I can't remember. I think was it on I think it was on a Tuesday. Yeah. So I think on Sunday now. Right. I can't remember particularly. I don't want to mix up the days. But 3 days, I know it was exactly 3 days to the event. And the friend that I told you was maybe closer to the persons managing the flight reaches out to me. He had already told me anyway, book your flight, so don't put hope in this one. And I went and booked my commercial flight. So like he reached out to me like, have you booked your flight? I said, yes, so I booked my flight. I booked my flight for this time and all of that. And he says, well, somebody reached out and said he was no longer going. He would not be available. We have a slot for you. Oh God, you said it. You said it. You said it. And I was like, God, you said this thing. You said I was going to get on this flight. You said I was going to get on this private plane. And you said it. You said it. Why? Why did I go? Why you said it? See, but out of apprehension, not wanting to lose at both ends. The event was closed. I was paid for it, and if I miss the commercial flight, right, there will be no other flights going there, going to that place, at that particular time, because I needed to get out maybe in the morning or something like that. There'll be no other flights, right? And if I waited till last minute to book the flight, the flight price would have skyrocketed and maybe far beyond what I could afford. That is if there were any seats even left, right? So it was a very tricky thing. So just to be as if I went and I booked my flight, and now this one was available, and this was perfect. And because I had even taken 2 days off, the day before that one helped me to now sit back at home and rehearse, and the next day went, to the private lounge. It was really cool. It was really beautiful. We went on the flight. I think around 8 a.m. We got to where I performed. We got on the flight back, and I came back. It was really beautiful. I'm doing this video. I would not have done this video, but I remember the day that I got that word private. I was so excited, and in my mind I said, if this comes to pass, right, I'm going to testify, I'm going to talk about it, because getting on flights is not really a big deal, right? So the testimony not necessarily that I got on a flight. It was that God said I was going to get on a flight, and I got on the flight. So that is the testimony that God speaks, that God cares, and that God hears. And in retrospect, I think that I should have gone back to God before booking the commercial flight. I should have said, God, remember you said this, but now the times are getting closer and these persons have not given me a gateway. It looks like I'm not going to get on this flight. I'm about to book a commercial flight. What do you think? And maybe just praise through it again. But I did no such thing. I allowed doubt and fear and anxiety to get a better part of me, and I went and booked a commercial flight. But God showed me mercy and still brought his word to pass. Anyways, I'm doing this video majorly to see that God cares about the details. And I think one of the things I have learned is that if I did not pray about it, if I just said, oh, I can't make it, I just got a new job, I need to focus and whatever, I would not have this testimony. Like, the Bible says you have not because you ask not. And that is so true. I have noticed in my life that sometimes when I'm just okay with my life and just going, everything, it's like God is like, okay, since you're fine with it, yeah, we're fine with it. But the day I'm like, no, no, this has to change. It, as in, it changes. So it also makes me realize that God cares about the little things. This was something that was important to me. This was something that I cared about. And God made a way for me. In Because when I looked at it, I did not see any way apart from the fact that I will have to book a commercial flight and go there for 3 days. I did not see the possibility. How would I have even known that the organizers were going to charter a flight or charter a plane? How would I have known? I would not have known. So in my myopic mind, I just thought this was the only way and there was no way. But God was seeing ahead. God saw the entire, is like an eagle's eye, bird eye view. God saw the entire thing and saw that, oh, there's a way here, there's a way here, there's a way here, right? And I did not see that. Right. So it's important to, even when we see the limitations, to reach out to God and to ask God, because God will definitely have a way. And even if there's no way, he will create a way, because there was really no way. The flight was booked, but maybe he had another opportunity for the other person who didn't make the flight, and the person took it, right? And in turn, that made a way for me. So I'm just saying this to say, number one, you can hear God for practically everything in your life. Number two, God really cares, even about the very little things, even about the minute things, even about how you can maybe get off of work, maybe to do one or two things that you have to do personally. um Number three, did I say he cares? Have I said that? If I've not said that, I'm repeating that. He cares. He cares. And I think one of the most beautiful things is that when he wants to do it, he blows your mind about it. He does it. He didn't just give me a favor to be able to get off work for the days that I needed. He also gave me ease for me to have gone on that flight and come back the same day. It was very easy for me, made life very, very easy for me. Instead of going in, sleeping over, and then sleeping over again, it really was very easy for me, and I'm really over the top thankful. I said I was going to do this. I was shy. I should because I was like, it's just flights now. We'll never fly. But no, the testimony is that God said, I would help you, I would make a way for you. And He did. And He did it in a very unique and beautiful way, really. So I hope this encourages you, to see God with time. Because I know that some people may be thinking, how did she hear God? How did she hear private? How did she how did she hear praise it through, right? I'm going to share maybe a series about, going to hear God because I used to be like that. I used to ask all those questions. I am going to be doing that. If that's something you're interested in, please comment and, I'll take note of that. But meanwhile, this is loud, Vicky, loud. I get all my thoughts out loud, Vicky Onyeka. Please comment, please ask your questions, and please subscribe to my channel.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Loud. Bikilion Winka. Bikilion Winka. Loud. Bikilion Winka. Bikilion Winka.
Meanwhile, United Nigerian Airlines, refund my money, refund me. I don't understand. You rescheduled the flight, it was your fault. You asked if you wanted the option of refund or, you know, just reserving a flight or just going ahead. And I said, refund. Why haven't you refunded my money since July? I have reached out to your customer service. I have called. I have sent emails. Please refund my money. It's bad enough that you took 25% off for something that was your fault. You rescheduled the flight. Refund my money. This is T-Pain. T-Pain economy. Refund my money. What you're doing, does it look like something that can unite us? United Nigeria? Does it uniting to you? Refund my money, be cool. My money back. Anyways, back to the gist.